30. Dialogue on 10 issues at Todai-Ji Temple, posed by Shunjo Bo Chogen. Question 1. Are the entirety of the holy teachings of Buddha Sakyamuni found in the teaching of Jodo-shu, or is Jodo-shu based upon only upon the teachings of the 3 sutras of Pure Land Buddhism? Answer. All of the teachings of the 8 or 9 traditional schools in Japanese Buddhism are, as a part of the lifetime teachings of Buddha Sakyamuni, embodied in our Jodo-shu, and they are further divided into 2 categories, the Holy Gate and the Pure Land Gate. Within the Holy Gate are Mahayana Buddhism and Hinayana Buddhism, as well as the expedient teachings for those not yet ready to understand the true teachings, and the true teachings that directly reveal the intent of Buddha Sakyamuni. Within the Pure Land Gate are pure Buddha lands in the 10 directions and the Pure Land in the west. The teachings of birth in the Western Pure Land contains the miscellaneous practices and the right practices, and within the right practices there are the auxiliary practices and the rightly established practice. The practice of the Holy Gate is interpreted to be difficult, and the practice of the Pure Land Gate is said to be easy. Only those who are ignorant in the meaning and substance of establishing the Jodo school would say that Jodo-shu is based upon only the teachings of the 3 sutras of Pure Land Buddhism. Question 2. Are the right practices and miscellaneous practices taught in the essential vow of Amida Buddha? Answer. The essential vow teaches the recitation of Nembutsu. Amida Buddha, in order to embrace those abandoned by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions of the past, present, and future, contemplated for 5 eons, investigating the nature of those suffering in the 6 delusive worlds of transmigration, and thereby established his path to deliverance. This path entails the recitation of the name of Amida Buddha, as taught in the essential vow. Those who insist that the miscellaneous practices are rooted in the essential vow would doubt the 5 wisdoms. If such a person were born in the Pure Land, he would find himself isolated in a secluded corner, and not benefit from the blessings of seeing Amida Buddha or listening to his teachings. Those who espouse birth in the Pure Land through the miscellaneous practices are misguided individuals who lack the heart leading to enlightenment. They do not consider the intent of Buddha Sakyamuni and make statements just to receive praise from the Arn monks on Mount Hei. Question 3. Is birth in the Pure Land always certain for the Nembutsu practitioner who possesses the 3-fold devotional heart? Answer. Birth in the Pure Land is possible without exception. There are 2 types of the 3-fold devotional heart. The 3-fold devotional heart that encompasses wisdom, and the 3-fold devotional heart that encompasses practice. The 3-fold devotional heart that encompasses wisdom means thus. It is hard for those who have studied in Buddhist schools other than the Jodo school to believe in the teaching of attaining birth in the Pure Land through Nembutsu. Therefore, in order to understand the Nembutsu teaching, they need to refer to Pure Land texts, interpret their meaning, and gradually develop faith in Nembutsu. Regarding the 3-fold devotional heart that encompasses practice, it is the genuine heart. If one totally relies on Amida Buddha, it is the profound heart. If one has no doubt about attaining birth in the Pure Land, and it is the heart that seeks birth in the Pure Land through the dedication of merit if one sincerely desires birth in the Pure Land. Therefore, the 3-fold devotional heart with practice points to devotion in the recitation of Nembutsu, unshakable faith, and aspiration for birth in the Pure Land. Both the 5 aspects of meditation and the 4 modes of exercise will be naturally embodied with the Nembutsu practitioners. Question 4. Is it alright if one does not always finger a string of prayer beads in the recitation of Nembutsu? Answer. A string of prayer beads must be held in one's hand at all times. In song and dance, there must be a beat to guide you in rhythm and timing. In the repetition of Nembutsu, the prayer beads are considered to be the score that guides your tongue and hands. If one does not rid oneself of ignorance, illusory thoughts will arise. This is like the relationship between a host and guests. When one holds the prayer beads, one's intention should not be to count the number of illusory thoughts, but to count the number of Nembutsu. Nembutsu is the host, and illusory thoughts are the guest. It is Amida Buddha's benevolence that allows illusory thoughts to rise while reciting Nembutsu. It would be terribly misguided to talk privately while holding the prayer beads. Question 5. If I worship this great Buddha at Todai-Ji temple before me, will this great Buddha, through his compassionate power, dispatch me to the Pure Land? Answer. Such a thought is unthinkable. There are 3 interpretations regarding the 3 jewels. First, the incorporation of the 3 jewels into one. This is the interpretation that the 3 jewels are based on the principle of Dharmakaya, the form of the ultimate reality of a Buddha, because all phenomena have their genesis in Dharmakaya. Second, the individual existence of the 3 jewels. According to this theory, the various Buddhas in the 10 directions are considered to be the jewel of the Buddha. Their wisdom and teachings are the jewel of the Dharma, and the disciples of the 3 vehicles, Bodhisattvas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Shravakas, are the jewel of the Sangha. Third, the preservation of the 3 jewels. This is the interpretation that the painted and wooden images of a Buddha are regarded as the preservation of the jewel of the Buddha, the recorded sutras as the preservation of the jewel of the Dharma, and the painted and carved images of the Bodhisattvas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Shravakas as the preservation of the jewel of the Sangha. If the great Buddha were to welcome you into the Pure Land, the order of the 3 interpretations of the 3 jewels would be disrupted. The reason for this is that the teachings of the preservation of the 3 jewels and the individual existence of the 3 jewels must be separate. It would be especially unimaginable that the principal image of the great Buddha remains in this delusive world of anguish while the practitioner proceeds to the Western Pure Land. Nevertheless, to be captivated by Amida Buddha in the Pure Land, to construct an image of Amida Buddha, and to be truly devoted to Amida Buddha will bring you merit. Question 6. Who is more superior? The wise one who lives an ordinary life, or the unschooled who seems to have aspiration for birth in the Pure Land? Answer. One who may have some wisdom, but who lacks aspiration for birth in the Pure Land, is infinitely less superior to one who may lack wisdom, but possesses aspiration for birth in the Pure Land. Recitation of Nembutsu by such an unschooled person is in concert with the essential vow of Amida Buddha. This person will attain birth in the Pure Land. One who possesses some wisdom but lacks aspiration for birth in the Pure Land is one who preaches the Dharma with a tainted intent, or who teaches deception and untruths, and will certainly descend into hell. Nevertheless, one who lacks wisdom, but who possesses the aspiration for birth in the Pure Land, will believe falsehoods to be truths, will fear that which need not be feared, and not fear that which should be feared. On the other hand, the wise one who possesses aspiration for birth in the Pure Land has the wisdom to pursue his goal and will attain birth in the most expeditious way. It is wrong to compare the sighted with those lacking sight. If aspiration for birth in the Pure Land were equal, one with just a little wisdom is 1,000,000,000 times more superior to one with no wisdom. One without wisdom who pursues birth in the Pure Land is striving through hardships to attain his goal. Question 7. Can a practitioner of Nembutsu receive the merit of Amida Buddha embracing and welcoming him into the Pure Land? Answer. It will come to pass with certainty. Question 8. It is said that once the light of Amida Buddha embraces mortals, they become non-regressive forever. Is this true? Answer. This is a grave mistaken belief. The light of Amida Buddha shines because one recites Nembutsu. If the recitation of Nembutsu ceases, upon what would Amitabha Buddha shine his light? If what you say is right, there will be no one who recites Nembutsu even once after completing the necessary recitation. Further, if your saying is true, many will realize birth in the Pure Land, but doesn't reality prove that there are few who obtain birth in the Pure Land and many who do not? There should be no doubts in this. Question 9. It is taught in the section on the essential vow in the larger sutra that 10 recitations will result in birth in the Pure Land, and in the section on the fulfillment of the essential vow that a single utterance will also result in birth in the Pure Land. Are these Nembutsu meant to be performed during one's lifetime or only at the time of death? Answer. It is as I stated last year. The Holy Gate teaches that if a person concentrates on a single practice in his daily life, his negative karma will be nullified immediately, and he will realize Buddhahood even if the practice is discontinued. This is simply a skillful means devised by Buddha Sakyamuni to establish a karmic relationship to his teaching. However, this does not mean that the observance of the practice only once naturally leads to the attainment of Buddhahood. Incidentally, the schools that have the extremely profound teachings, such as the Kigan school, Zen school, Shingon school, and Shikan Tendai school, employ such skillful means. Sentient beings are by nature indolent. In Jodo Shu, uttering a single Nembutsu with a doubting heart, believing that this guarantees birth in the Pure Land, and ceasing the recitation of Nembutsu after a few more repetitions is truly regrettable. 10 recitations applies to the period in contrast with the upper limits of the lifelong practice of Nembutsu. The lifelong practice continues to shorten for one who has encountered the teaching of Nembutsu late in life. This is why 100 repetitions is abbreviated into 10. 10 recitations are abbreviated into a single utterance. If the robe that I am wearing is burned, the karmic relationship to the linen may also be burned away. As long as the robe exists, the relationship to the linen will continue to be. Likewise, our bodies have accumulated karmic defilements from a past with no beginning to the present have also remained unchanged. If, when we cease the practice of Nembutsu, our bodies as well as our hearts remain unchanged, what would be proof of the eradication of the karmic defilements to make the attainment of Buddhahood possible? One who eliminates one non-virtuous karma is able to detach oneself from the delusive worlds of transmigration, and one so enlightened will be golden in color. Amida Buddha vowed that all beings in the Pure Land are golden in color. However, which Nembutsu practitioner can become golden in color before the end of his or her life? Refrain from knowledge, believe in the instruction of Shanta that one should never cease the practice of Nembutsu after one awakens the aspiration from her birth in the Pure Land, and await the welcome of Amida Buddha at the end of life. Question 10. Is the form of Amida Buddha that arrives to welcome the Nembutsu devotee into the Pure Land at the time of death regarded as a rewarded Buddha? Answer. One who attains birth in the Pure Land through Nembutsu is welcomed by a rewarded Buddha. On the other hand, one who attains birth in the Pure Land through the miscellaneous practices is greeted by transformed Buddha. Even if one practices Nembutsu, if one involves himself with practices other than Nembutsu, harbors just a shadow of doubt about birth in the Pure Land through Nembutsu, one will be greeted by a transformed Buddha instead of the rewarded Buddha. Doko's note. This dialogue is recorded at Genku Shonin's replies to question by Chogen of Todai-Ji Temple held on the 13th of March in the second year Kenyu, 1191. Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amitabha Buddha, Namu Amitofo.